start that recording right now so I don't forget. And at the very end, I'll let you know about Act 48 hours. In the meantime, let's welcome Sarah, and go ahead, Sarah, please start.
All right, should I press continue? Okay, yeah, so I'm going to talk today about providing student feedback in the virtual classroom. Sarah Groth, I work at Montour High School in Montour School District. My contact information is right there. Currently I'm teaching biology, biomedical innovations, and environmental sustainability. I'm primarily going to focus on what I've been doing in my biology classes. Two of the 4 sections of biology I teach, I have a co-teacher, so there are 2 of us facilitating learning during, regular school and this time as well. So the way that we're doing remote learning at Montour High School is we're providing synchronous and asynchronous learning, and it's really up to the teacher the frequency at which synchronous learning occurs. So students, every day, classes may meet virtually, and there's a schedule every day. So for example, first period's 8 to 9, seconds 9 to 10, so on and so forth. So the way I've been doing it is 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I meet with my students virtually. I introduce a topic that day, check in with them about assignments, questions they may have. Sometimes we'll do an assignment together. Sometimes some students will stay and do an assignment with me, and others will go do it independently. But we have an hour together to work on things. The asynchronous portion takes place on Tuesdays and Thursdays, where they receive an assignment. It may be an EdPuzzle, something that my co-teacher and I have found on Teachers Pay Teachers, or a Wiser Me worksheet, something else that we've created, or a Google form. And so students receive an assignment every day of the week, and they're not, cumbersome or overbearing, but they're a new topic every day of the week. So that's how we've been doing remote learning. So I'm going to talk about, the importance of providing feedback to students. We do a really good job of that, I think, in the regular classroom setting. When we're grading work, we can provide feedback, whether it's written feedback, whether it's, oral feedback to the student, or whole class feedback. It's a lot easier than it is, when we're working virtually and remotely. So I've been seeking ways to provide students with personalized and timely feedback. So the 2 things that I use to do this, there are some others, but that I'm going to focus on today are Wiser Me, and I'll kind of walk you through what that is briefly and show you what types of feedback you can provide for students, and then Google Forms. And what I've noticed with providing feedback is that students become more engaged when they know that they're going to receive feedback. So on the assignments where they receive feedback from me that's personalized, more of those assignments are completed than assignments like maybe an EdPuzzle where they don't receive personalized feedback. Also, I have noticed, sort of anecdotally, more engagement with me, emailing me questions about things, about the assignment, hanging around when we have our class to work on the assignment together. So feedback is very important to inform the student of what they know and what they should know, and helping them build that metacognition that we so desperately want them to develop. So we'll start with Wiser Me. So Wiser Me is it's a free service, or there is an upgraded service where you can create different worksheets. So I'm going to X out of my presentation and take you to what this may look like. Okay. So once you get an account for wiser.me, you'll have access to thousands upon thousands of different worksheets that you can make your own. You can edit them, and you can, or you can create your own worksheets. And there are many, many different types of questions that you can ask, and different things you can embed in there to help with instruction. I've seen people use them for stations activities, people use them for reviews, introductory lessons, quizzes, just a whole variety of things. So another benefit to them is that they are categorized by subject and grade level. So you can, if you're looking for one that you might want to edit so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. This one doesn't have it. Keeps bringing up different ones every time I go back to it. But you'll see that there are categories based on like subject and grade level. Let's see if this one has it. Yeah, so for example, this says 9th grade math. Sometimes they may say pre-algebra, algebra, but you can add different tags to them. You can see how many different students have actually used this worksheet as well. So now I'm going to go to my worksheets and just kind of show you what type of things you can do on this. And then I'll go into what type of feedback you can provide. So here's one that was kind of a sandbox for me. I just played around with it. And it's one that I took from another group. So it's one that I took from another teacher. So what you'd see here as a teacher are some different things, like here's a video. So students would start off by watching a video and then responding to some questions. There's a labeling activity where students would actually click on an object and label it according to these labels. Then there are some sorting activities. What students would see are these terms up here, and they would drag and drop them to the appropriate categories. Then there are some matching activities you can create. There are some blog activities you can create. This one actually has an audio question. So there's an audio prompt, and then students respond to it down here, and they can see each other's responses. And then there are also free response questions where, you know, they may just respond independently, where not in a blog style format. And if you wanted to edit it, you could add a variety of different tasks to it, all these different types of questions. And what's nice is you can provide feedback on all of these questions. So what I'm going to do is show you guys how I provide feedback on this. So I'm going to go to a worksheet that I created and that my students did, and I've just finished it, okay? So I've filled it in. So I've filled in this section here, completing the hierarchy of ecological organization from smallest to largest. I've done a matching activity. I've watched this video and I've answered some questions based on the video. I've even gone back to the video up here, scrolled around to go back and answer some of the questions. I've interpreted some of these images. And now I'm going to submit once I finish, and I am done. So I'm going to hand in my work. So this is what a student would do. Okay, so it says now is a good time to go over your answers. So I'm going to confirm and hand in my work. It says assignment completed. It says feedback is below. Find out how you did. So I can go back and look and see how I did, okay? So that's one form of immediate feedback. If there is, if it's all sort of multiple choice or, you know, single answer, not free response. So I can automatically see how I did. But notice here I didn't get all of these right. So I might need some feedback to help me understand why these are not correct. So as a teacher, what I can do is go in. So I'm going to switch to the teacher side. This is what a student would see. I'm going to switch to a teacher side now. I would go here. Let's see. I need to refresh that. Okay, I'm going to find me. And here I am. So I can see how long this person spent on this. I can see their score, can see when they completed it. And then I can see their responses. So here, this looks great. So this is really cool. I can leave audio feedback. So I could record a comment for that person, or I could leave text comments like this. So that's the text comment. Or you can record audio and upload an audio file or record yourself. If you subscribe to the upgraded service, you can actually provide a video answers for your learners, which is really cool. So if you notice that students, there's a consistency of students struggling with particular responses, you could add a video to help them understand it better. So all of these, I can provide feedback to the student. I can say, nice job, which I do a lot of times. Sometimes I'll even add something, that they may be interested in, a link to, something more about a current event issue that they could look into and kind of look at for enrichment. So same here, for every question you can provide the same type of feedback. You can heart it as well. But what I really like about this is at the end, I can provide general feedback for that particular student. So this is where I could add a link to some videos for enrichment purposes or for remediation purposes. I can type, hey, great job. I thought you might be interested in these things. Or, hey, looks like why don't you review these videos, or let's meet up during office hours in class at this particular time to talk about these questions. Make sure you understand them. So I really like that. And then what you do is you save it, and then you apply feedback, and the student gets a message to look at the feedback. So that's really how I've been using it. Additionally, when I do short response questions, I'll show you some of those. So like, for example, here's another worksheet that I created and gave to my students, and they're open-ended questions. I really like these because it really, allows students to, you can ask some critical thinking questions. So what I've noticed is that students will often have sort of the same misconceptions. So I can provide a score value here based on, their response, but then I oftentimes create a document that has some cut and paste comments that I can provide to students, so I'm not typing the same thing over and over again. So I have another like Google Doc that I've created specific comments, and I split my screen and I just cut and paste those comments here based on the student's understanding and some whatever may help them, whatever feedback I want to give them. So that's helped me streamline the process, just cutting and pasting certain comments. And I may have 3 comments for this particular question based on the type of misconception that they have. So that's really wiser. I've found that it does take a lot of time. I'll kind of go over that in my lessons learned, but it's been pretty valuable and worthwhile. So the next type of feedback that I'm going to talk about is using Google Forms. Now it's a little more limiting than Wiser. They don't have the fancy question types and things like that. I mean, you can embed videos and do some things. It's just not as fancy of an interface. But I want to show you guys some really cool things that they've been adding and how streamlined the feedback process can be with this. So for example, I'm going to walk you guys through a self-assessment that I gave students a few weeks ago. You know, we're not grading assignments, we're giving self-assessments or self-checks at the end of a unit for a student to see where they lie in learning and what they may need to go back and recover, or what sort of they really did get. And students are allowed to redo these assessments as well. And so I want to give them really timely feedback on these. And so they're not all multiple choice questions. Some of them are short answer questions. But first I'm going to start with how you can give feedback really nicely and easily to short answer questions. And Google is just adding stuff like this at an outstanding pace. All right, so let me go back and X out of here. Go here. Okay, so here's the evolution self-assessment that I gave students. And once everyone took it, I could see the results. So, you know, same thing that you may have used before. If you're familiar with Google Forms, you can see a summary of all the different responses, everyone's score, percent of students that got the answer right. But we can dig a whole lot deeper in here, and we can provide really great feedback for students. So if you go to the question section, you can look at each question and see the responses in this format. So response A, the correct response was this choice. And so I can provide feedback that says nice choice. All right, let's say they got it wrong. 2 people got this wrong. So I provided the feedback, hey, check out the video below, just to try to help them if they were to go back and re-answer this question, which a lot of them choose to do. They would have a better understanding of how to respond to this question. Same with this one. There's, you know, one response was incorrect, so I could add the same, I would add the same probably video for that one. Okay, so you just see one question at a time, but look how many students I'm reaching at one time. Here's 61, here are 2. So that's fantastic for multiple choice, and how you can really craft it for each person based on the response that they chose. So that's super exciting, I think, and really nice feedback for students. Now I want to go to the short, and actually, no, I want to show you another one. So another cool thing you can do with this is, let's look at a question that is like a open free response question. Okay, so what I'd see here when I pull this down, so this is the question. I see every single student's response here, okay? I can provide feedback, I can provide a grade. Now I don't see their names. So sometimes people are interested in responding to students without knowing who they are anonymously. Sometimes people feel that it provides, you know, it removes a bias or subjectivity. So you can use this to provide feedback without knowing who the student is. Now that's not always the case for sure, but this is something that people have, you know, I know people that have done this, teachers, maybe my co-teacher and I, you know, we calibrate on our responses to kids, and we may want to not know who the kid is and make sure we're being consistent in our feedback. But if you do want to know the student, so you know who to help and who needs what, you can certainly go up here and go to individual. And here I have myself pulled up. So I'm going to scroll down really quickly to my responses. Oh, well, let me show you this. So I got this question wrong. I said that the response to this is a vestigial structure. And so what I've done is provided some feedback for that student. This is what it would look like to the student. There's a definition of what a vestigial structure is, and then a video to help explain the differences between homologous, analogous, and there's a little bit about vestigial structures there. So that's what the student would see when I release their score to them. So that I really like the way that looks, and they can't miss that if they look at it. So moving forward, I'm scrolling down to the end where the free response questions are located. Okay, right here. So now I can see what each individual response is, and I know who the individual is, and I can add individual feedback. Now, what I like about this, again, is I can add a link for the individual feedback. So I could add a link to an assignment that the student completed that would help them, or I can even add a video. So I can search for a video on YouTube and give them a video. And you can do that on the multiple choice questions as well. So you can take a URL video, or you can search for a video, or you may know the video you want to use, so you just type in the URL, but something that would help them. All right. So that's what I have for Google Forms, and I found that to be really helpful in providing timely and meaningful feedback to students that's really customized and personalized to what they need. I'm going to go back to the presentation now. I think I just showed you this. Yeah, I just showed you how to work on the open-ended questions. So now sort of some lessons that I've learned throughout all of this in providing feedback. Their tech updates occur daily. Each week when I notice something different, I think, and they're all beneficial. They're all great, good things. So like, especially with Google Forms, just more opportunities and ways to provide feedbacks to students in really streamlined ways. I've noticed that students engage more regularly with feedback, and I mentioned that earlier, looking at my completion of assignments and scores on assignments when they know I'm giving them feedback on them, which I tell them, I say, okay, you'll get feedback on this, and it's kind of become the norm and the routine. They're more engaged in it, and they're reaching out to me, staying on in the class longer, and completing the assignments on time. Now, this does take time, especially with Wiser Me. It takes a lot of time, but fortunately with the situation we're in, I personally have a little more time. I'm not meeting with my students every day. I'm meeting with them 3 days a week. So I have some time to give them feedback. I found it important to solicit their feedback as well. So I send out surveys periodically to see what they feel is working for them, what they may need more of, and kind of go from there. And what I've found is they feel that what is being done is really appropriate and good. Sometimes they want a little more time in the classroom to work on things with me, and sometimes my co-teacher as well, if that's that particular class. But, and I use that feedback from them, and I share it with them to show them, hey, this is what you and your peers are telling me, and this is informing your instruction. Going on to practical tips. There's one thing that's nice is there's no need to reinvent the wheel on Wiser Me. So you can spend more time providing feedback. You can pick up a worksheet that another teacher has created that's probably very appropriate for your class, maybe edit it really quickly, run through it, make sure it works for your class, and then you can spend more time providing feedback. Letting your students know that you are providing feedback and when to expect it, like, hey, I'll give you feedback by tomorrow at the end of the day on this assignment. Just letting them know when to expect it helps them understand, okay, I got to get this in because I need to get feedback on my assignment, and, it gives them sort of another layer of accountability. So next steps for me are to figure out how to provide better feedback on EdPuzzle assignments. They see what they get right and wrong, but they don't get feedback on what, like maybe they didn't understand the way things were explained in a video. EdPuzzle is just where students watch a video and there are questions that the teacher can insert throughout the video. Maybe they didn't understand the video. So I need to be able to I would like to be able to provide more feedback on EdPuzzle. Streamlining the feedback process on Wiser Me, because that's the more individualized one. I do create that cut and paste document where I can respond to different questions in the same way based on what student understanding, but it still can get a little tedious. I'm also interested in knowing more about other student-friendly technologies or tools that allow for personalized feedback, because I know they're out there. So now we can have our Q&A.